Very good morning to all. I am Ganganath. In the previous chapter, you have studied about the Indian Constitution. The Constitution, its importance for a democratic country like India, and the various features of Indian Constitution. And in this chapter, you are going to study about one of the features of Indian Constitution, the secularism. India is a multi-religious country. Being a multi-religious country with a lot of India's diversities, making or binding all the people together and running a country with a strong force needs lot of effort and the very strong constitutional bindings. So that we have created our nation with a feature of secularism. Now, let us study about how the secularism functions and how especially the Indian secularism functions. Let's study in this chapter. Now let us recall the story of Mr. and Mrs. Ansari that you have studied in class 7th. This Mr. and Mrs. Ansari were the Muslim couple. They wanted a rented house in the non-Muslim majority area. They had enough money, but they could not get the rented house. This was only because the apartment owners did not want to give the rented house for the Muslims. They were the minority. And now let us imagine that you are the citizen of the USA. You are a Hindu or a Muslim living in the area in USA where the Christian fundamentalism is very powerful. And you want to rent a house. You do not get the rented house there because you are the minority there. What do you feel? Don't you feel that you are resentful? And you also may get angry. So, now, what may be your response to such a situation? You may argue with them. Why you are treating me like that? They may give the sudden answer, you go back to India. This is the land of the Christians. What do you feel? There is a chance of, commonly in the world, two types of responses that the people give. One is the retaliation, the getting angry, and feeling that in the non-majority area, the Christians also must get the same treatment. If you take up the path of retaliation, being resentful, you can also feel that the other groups living in the different parts of the world will also take up the same type of retaliation. Will you feel that it will lead to the peace of the world? Never. It will lead to the chaos, fight between different groups of the people living in the world. Nobody in the world can live a harmonious life. So if you take up another type of the response, the fight for justice for all the religions in the world. And in the history we find the people across the globe fought for their rights, for the religious freedom. All these types of the fight had the assumption in the mind that all forms of domination related to the religion should end. The solution to end all these forms of religious domination is the system of secularism followed by the nation, by the state. State in the sense the nation or the government, not the state that you commonly use, the administrative unit of a country. It is not that. It is a country is called in the political science the nation. We do not want any type of domination on any weaker group in the country. So the Constitution of India provided for the secular state. The state that treats the people of all the religions equally without giving any priority to any religion or without hating any religion at any cost. The nation is the first entity and not the religion. Dear children, after learning this lesson, you will be able to acquire the knowledge about the major world religions in brief. And you will be able to define secularism. And you will also understand the need to separate religion from the state, from the government. And you will also be able to explain secularism in the Indian context, comparing the functioning of the secularism in the other countries of the world. If we look into the history, we get many examples of discrimination, exclusion, and persecution on the grounds of religion. Let us list some of the examples. Take up Germany. The Jews, they suffered by the persecution, which is the policy adopted by Adolf Hitler. So it had to be ended by the creation of the state of Israel by United Nations Organization in the year 1948. But still today, though the UNO created Israel, the Israel is not treating the non-Jews in the equal status. And another example we can see, the example of West Asian countries with the Islamic Republic. It may include Saudi Arabia, Pakistan, Afghanistan, Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, and the countries of West Asia. They declared their country, their state, as the Islamic republics. The one religion, Islam, is given the state recognition so that all the non-Muslims are considered as the second-rate citizens of that country. So we can say the root cause of the domination of the majority religion in a country is the recognition given to one particular religion by the state. So the state uses its power to dominate over the minority. In India, can the state discriminate against citizens on the grounds of their religion? Absolutely no. Because India is a secular state. Here, the people belong to any religious group can live with the equal status. For us, nation is the entity and not the religion. Now let's understand the meaning of the term secularism. To understand the meaning of the term secularism, we have to understand the several concepts. One is the religious freedom for all. Second one is separation of the power of the religion and the power of the state. Third one, the no discrimination by the state on the basis of the religion. The concept of nation is important and not the concept of religion. If you understand these things in detail, you will be able to understand what is the general meaning of the secularism. Now let's take up the first concept, the religious freedom for all. You have studied the fundamental right of freedom of religion, the fourth fundamental right, which is given in the part 3rd of the Indian Constitution, which gives the religious freedom to the people. In this, it states and it allows the individuals the freedom to live by their religious beliefs and practice as they interpret their own religion. In the textbook, you can see several drawings which are drawn by the children of your age on the secularism. What they feel about secularism is expressed through their drawings. Observe these drawings, you will get an idea. They have drawn the religious centers of a different religion, that of Hindus, Christians, Muslims, Sikhs. And also in the ground, the children are playing. The children of different religious group are playing together with a happiness. And you also see the another drawing. There is a globe surrounded by the people who belong to different religious groups. So this is the concept that the children have rightly understood. Should be a harmonious relationship among the different groups of the people in the country, which is the main objective of secularism. They have rightly put it through their drawings. You can find here the symbols belong to the various religions of the world, and try to find out the people of which of these religious groups are there in India. You can find the Christians, and you can find the Muslims, the Jains, Sikhs, Hindus, Parsis. Almost the more than 50% of the faiths of the world are there in India. So India is a multi-religious, multi-diversified country. You can see in this screen the gods or goddesses which are worshipped by the people of different religious groups. The first you can see the Hindus, Jains, then Buddhists, then Sikhs, and the like. The place of worship, their deities, and their sacred books, and their lifestyle, their customs, traditions, all are different. So, we can say that India is a multi-religious country. If you look into the major religions of the world, like Christianity, Islam, Hinduism, Zoroastrianism, Taoism, Confucianism, almost all the major religions of the world, they took their birth in Asia. Now we find all these faiths throughout the world. All the religions of the world must teach the path of love, tolerance, and peace. And in the name of religion, if we fight each other, then the world peace will be destructed. For every individual, their faith, their religion is great. That is not the matter. If we compare our religion with the other religion and say that ours is the superior, then that leads to the conflict. In every secular state, the power of the religion is kept away from the power of the state. So it is an important part, indivisible part of secularism. So now let us look into why it is important to separate religion from the state powers. First thing, to protect the fundamental rights of the minorities in a democratic society. Suppose in a democratic society, commonly the elections are held and it is the power of the majority. Democracy is nothing but the power of the majority. The majority group, if contests in the election and gets the state power, and there is a possibility of misuse of that power, and they can form the policies in their favor against the other minorities. So it may lead to the tyranny, it may lead to the discrimination, coercion, and many a time it may also lead to the killing of the religious minorities. And we have seen in the history the Jews are persecuted by Adolf Hitler. These in West Asian countries like the Saudi Arabia, Iran, Israel, and even in Pakistan, we are getting so many instances to give when the state is controlled by the religion, the religious aspects play the major role and not the constitution. So the majority quite easily can prevent the minorities from practicing their religion, and they may force to get converted into the religion of the majority. So there will not be any freedom. The base fundamental right of the freedom of religion is violated there. Second thing, to separate the religion from the state is to protect the freedom of individuals. Inside the same religion, there may have many different and dominant groups. They may interpret in their own way. And the possibility of forcing their interpretation or imposing their interpretations on the rest of the people who are following the same religion. And we can give the example, this has happened in the history. The so-called higher castes had imposed their views on the so-called lower caste or untouchables among the Hindus. In the same way, among the Muslims, the Shia Muslims, when they are in majority, they have imposed their interpretations on the Sunni Muslims. In the same way, even in Christianity, in some areas, the Roman Catholics had tried to impose their interpretations on the smaller community. Then later they came to be called as the Protestants. We have studied about the meaning of secularism and the importance of the separation of religion from the affairs of the state for two main reasons. One is to protect the minority religious group from the hands of the majority religious group living in the same country. Second thing is to protect the freedom of each individual, maybe a part of the same religious group, from the dominance or the coercion or the persecution by the major group inside the same religion. Can there be different views within the same religion? The question comes, with your experiences, I want you to make two persons or a pair, a group, and discussing on your experiences related to this. And I'll give you the time of 3 minutes to discuss mutually. And then you will be expressing your views, and all the others will be noting them. As the general meaning of the secularism, we have understood that the secularism gives the religious freedom for all, and it separates the power of the religion from the power of the states. The state cannot discriminate on the basis of the religion. Then the nation is the main entity in a country and not the religion. But the secularism, which is followed in various parts of the world in different countries differently. Indian secularism is different from the secularism which is functioning in other parts of the world. Now, what is Indian secularism then? The Constitution of India, by providing for a secular state for India, ensures mainly three things. One, the one religious community does not dominate the another. Secular state ensures some members of the same religious community do not dominate the other members of the same religious community. The thirdly, the state does not enforce any particular religion nor take away the religious freedom of the individuals. So let us repeat once again. The one religious community does not dominate the another. This is the assurance given by the secular state of India, which in short can be called the prevention of inter-community domination. Second thing, the some members do not dominate other members of the same religious community. It can be said the prevention of intra-community domination. The thirdly, the state does not enforce any particular religion nor take away the religious freedom of the individuals. It means the protection of the citizens from the tyranny of the state. These are the three main things that the Constitution of India provides, ensures through the secular state. India being a secular state, it is a responsibility of the state to prevent the religious domination. In order to prevent the religious domination and create a harmonious and happy situation for the all the sections of the people to live together happily. The state has been following several strategies. Let us look into them one by one. The first strategy that the state of India follows is the strategy of distancing itself from religion. It means treating all religions equally. So, in your textbook, there is a storyboard. In a government school, the people or the children from the different religious group are studying. In such a government school, no religion should be given preference. All the religions must be treated equally in the government schools because the school is running with the public money. So, in this case, the storyboard explains the small children of your age go to the teacher and ask for the celebration of the religious festival. But the teacher explains the children that the celebration of the religious festival belong to the one particular religion is not permitted in India because India is a secular state, the land of all the religions. So, this is how we can very clearly understand that the strategy of distancing equally from all the religions is the first strategy that the secular state of India follows. The second strategy which is followed by the state of India is the strategy of non-interference. The first one is distancing itself equally from all the religions. Second one is the strategy of non-interference. The state should not interfere in any type of these religious practices which is followed by the people of any religion. So, this can be very clearly understood through the storyboard which is given in the textbook. By providing the exceptions to respect the sentiments of all the religions, a group of friends who have recently bought scooters are meeting to go for a ride together. The Hindu or a Muslim and a Sikh together are the friends going for a ride on bike. So, here the rules of the government speaks that the wearing of helmet is compulsory while riding the bike. But the Sikh youngster is not compelled to wear the helmet if he wears the pugri, because pugri is the indivisible part of the religion of Sikhs. So, in order to respect the sentiment of the follower of a Sikhism, this exception is given in case of wearing of the helmet. So, this is called as the strategy of non-interference in the religious affairs. When we learn that the government follows the strategy of non-interference, it doesn't mean that the government never interferes in the religious affairs. The government is allowed to follow the strategy of intervention also. This is the third way of dealing with the secularism in India. Then we can give the example for making you to understand it very clearly. The strategy of intervention is the third way of dealing with the secularism in India. This strategy of intervention has got two ways again. The one is the intervention by prevention. The second one is the intervention by support. The intervention by prevention, we can give the example. The state has removed constitutionally the untouchability because it violates the fundamental rights of so-called lower caste among the Hindus. When any of the religious practice which is followed by any of the religious group in a country, if it interferes, if it harms, or if it violates the fundamental right, then the state can follow the strategy of intervention. So this is the one example. The second example for the intervention by prevention is the recent the law which is passed by the government of India and supported by the Supreme Court, is the banning of triple talaq among the Muslims. And the next thing, the ban of infanticide. Now, even if any of the religious group in the country say that the infanticide is followed since the centuries in our religion and we have every right to carry on the same practice even today. No, the government or the state does not allow any individual to follow the system of infanticide. The reason is it harms the very fundamental right to life of a child. The individual freedom is not protected. In order to protect the individual freedom, the state must ban the infanticide. So, this is how the state intervenes in the affairs of the religion by preventing the religious groups from violating the fundamental rights. The second aspect of the strategy of intervention is the intervention by support. The state gives the free hand to the individuals following the minority religion to the establishment and the running of the own educational institutions. This is a type of support given by the state. So, the strategy of intervention includes two things. One is by prevention, another one is by support. Prevention to prevent the religious groups from violating the fundamental rights, and support to improve upon their culture. For this, the fifth fundamental right, the cultural and educational rights, also supports. Now there is an open question to all of you. Listen properly. A religious group says that we have the practice of infanticide in our religion from the centuries. Will the government intervene if some religious group says like this, that their religion allows them to practice infanticide? Think over it. Give the reasons for your answer. We have said that the Indian secularism is different from the secularism which is followed in the rest of the world or the rest of the countries. Now let us see in what way is Indian secularism different from that of other democratic countries. Let us compare and contrast the secularism of India and USA. If we study the constitution of India and the constitution of USA, we find the both are the secular states, but still we find some differences. Now let us see the similarities between the secularism of India and that of USA. Both the countries, both the states, India and USA, cannot declare any religion as an official religion. It means that no religion can be the state religion in these both the countries. And the second thing, both the countries, both the states cannot give preference to any one particular religion. So these are the two similarities that we have between the secularism of India and that of USA. Then what is the difference? In one particular aspect, we find the difference between the secularism of both the countries. In USA, let us study now. There is the strict separation between religion and the state. The separation between the state and religion means in USA, neither the state nor religion can interfere in any of the affairs of one another. This is what is functioned in USA. In the same context, we shall see how in India the state can intervene in the religious affairs in two situations. First thing, when it hurts or violates the fundamental rights of any citizen. And also, it can support the minority group to develop their culture through the educational institutions. But this is not there in case of ESC. We can see the examples of Indian secularism, that India followed the removal of untouchability, ban of triple talaq. There is an exception to the Sikhs to wear helmet. All these are the interferences of Indian state in the religious affairs. But this is not allowed in USA. So let me repeat the gist once again. In USA, there is the separation of the religion from the state and the state from the religion very strictly, though it cannot declare any religion as an official religion, and also though it cannot give any preference to the one religion. But in case of India, it cannot declare any religion as a state religion. It cannot give any preference to any one particular religion, but it can intervene if the practice of religion affects the individual freedom and the fundamental rights. The strict separation of religion from the affairs of the state can well be understood by citing a situation from the public school of USA. The school which is run by the government of USA. Here you can see the photo where the children are taking the pledge, which is followed in every government school. It is called as a pledge of allegiance, where a word comes in the pledge: under God. Under God. Though that phrase under God does not belong to any religion, It is belong to the any such religion which believes in the existence of God. But this is considered as a religious. There may be the people who do not believe the God. There may be the atheists. There may be atheists. The such people also should not be hurt by the word. So, what the government of USA did is that it did not make the taking of the pledge of allegiance compulsory to the children in the government school. So, this is how the religious freedom and the religious power or the power of the state is completely separated in the state of USA. Let us see what happened in France. In France, the secularism is defined. It is defined as it is an indivisible, secular, democratic, and social republic, guaranteeing that all citizens, regardless of their religion, their origin, race, are treated as equals before the law and respecting all religious beliefs. This is what the Constitution of France says. But an incident happened in 2004 February. The government of France passed a law banning the students from wearing any conspicuous religious or political signs or symbols such as the Islamic headscarf, the Jewish skull cap, or large Christian crosses. But this encountered a lot of resistance from the immigrants, mainly from former French colonies of Algeria, Morocco, and the like, because they have these things as a part of their religion. They had shown there's a dissatisfaction against the government's new rule of banning all these signs, symbols, or the dress habits. So we can say that the secularism is such a concept. It should be well defined in the country with the better goal of keeping all the citizens of the country, irrespective of their religion, happy, and it should lead towards the leading of the harmonious life among the citizens of all the nations. Now the question comes, there are many countries in the world which do not have followed the secular principles in their country. There are many non-secular countries. Now, do you think that all the countries of the world should become secular? If yes, or if no, in both the situations, justify your answers with the solid reasons. Now, the time for open discussion. I'll give you 3 minutes of the time. I want you to discuss in the classroom in pairs. And then you have to come up with the views. After the discussion, while you are discussing, you have to note down them in the this book, in the notebook, and then you will be listing them one by one. For open discussion. Now at the end, let us have a quick revision of what we have discussed today. Firstly, we have understood the meaning of the term secularism. We have understood the several concepts in this meaning of the secularism: the religious freedom for all, the separation of power of the religion from the power of the state, no discrimination by the state on the ground of religion, the entity of the nation and not the entity of the religion. This is how we have understood the meaning of the term secularism. And it is understood that the India is a country with the people of many religious groups. Almost all the religious groups of the country, of the world, are living in India, like Christians, the Muslims, Hindus, Jains, Zoroastrians, Sikhs, Parsis, and the like. And the essence of the secularism is to prevent the domination on the basis of religion. Mainly, the world religions must teach the path of love, tolerance, and peace. Then we have studied about the importance of separating religion from the state. The one is to protect the fundamental rights of the minorities in a democratic country like India. Second is to protect the freedom of each individual to interpret religious teachings differently, to exit from their religion, to embrace another religion. Then we have specially studied about the Indian secularism. The Constitution of India provides for a secular state and through which ensures three things. One is the one religious community does not dominate another. Second one is some members do not dominate the other members of the same religious community. Third one, the state does not dominate or enforce any particular religion nor take away the religious freedom of the individuals. How the state of India brings the secularism under practice through several strategies. The one is by distancing itself from the religion and treating all the religions equally, for which we have given the example of non-celebration of any of the religious festivals in the public schools. The second strategy is of non-interference, for which the state of India gives exceptions to some of the religious groups by non-interfering in their religious sentiments. For example, the Sikhs are allowed to wear a pugri even if the wearing of helmet is compulsory while riding the bike. Let us form an imagery about what we have studied through the mind mapping. You watch the map here, part by part. The socialism, which is connected with its meaning, the history of the secularism, the philosophy of secularism, and the secularism and the Indian Constitution, Indian secularism versus the Western secularism, and the threats for the secularism, and also the way forward, how the secularism should be in India. In the mind map, if we go into detail, we can look into the secular, separate from religion or having no religious basis, rational and scientific thinking, purely personal matter, the separation of religion from socio-political and economic aspects of life, dissociation of the state from religion, full freedom and tolerance of all religions, equal opportunities for followers of all religions, and no discrimination and partiality on grounds of religion. The mind map of the secularism in the history of India. The Vedas and the Upanishads highlight the religious plurality. Emperor Ashoka the state would not prosecute any religious sect, which is given in the 12th Rock Edict about the toleration of all religious sects. Sufi and Bhakti movements bound the people of various communities. Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti, Baba Farid, Kabir, Guru Nanak Dev, etc. Medieval India. Akbar forbade forcible conversions and abolished jizya. Then introduced Din-e-Ilahi had elements of both Hindu and Muslim faith. The concept of sulh-e-kul or peace and harmony among religions. Then Ibadat Khana or the hall of worship. Dara Shikha studied Hindu philosophy and attempted to find common grounds. Then if we come to the modern India, British pursued policy of divide and rule. British partitioned Bengal in 1905. Indian Councils Act of 1909 provided separate electorates for the different religions. Government of India Act 1919 extended this provision to other communities. Ramsay MacDonald Communal Award of 1932, which became the basis for the representation under the Government of India Act 1935. Now we shall see in the independent India, secularism was strengthened during Indian freedom movement. Liberal leaders pursued secular approach to politics. Historic Nehru Committee of 1928 had many provision on secularism. Gandhi's secularism, brotherhood, respect and pursuit of truth. Nehru's secularism, commitment to scientific humanism. We look into the philosophy of Indian secularism. The Western societies, dharma nirapekshata, the indifference of state to religion. Indian secularism, sarva dharma samabhava, equal respect to all religions. Vivekananda and Mahatma Gandhi spoke about positive secularism. India does not have an official state religion. Different personal laws vary with an individual's religion. Not an end in itself, but a means to address religious plurality. Now, the secularism and the Indian Constitution. Constitutionally, India is a secular country which has no state religion. Term secular was added to preamble by the 42nd Amendment Act of 1976. Article 14 grants equality before the law and equal protection of the laws to all. Article 15 prohibits discrimination on the grounds of religion. Article 16, Clause 1, no discrimination on the basis of religion in public employment. Article 25, freedom of conscience and the right to freely profess, practice and propagate. Article 26, right to establish and maintain institutions for religious and charitable purposes. Article 27, the state shall not compel any citizen to pay any taxes for the promotion or maintenance of any particular religion or religious institution. Article 28 allows religious institutions to impart religious instruction. Article 29 and Article 30 provides cultural and educational rights to the minorities. Article 51A obliges all the citizens to promote harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood. Comparison between the Indian secularism and the secularism of the Western world. In the Western model, the state and the religion have separate spheres. Requires complete separation of religion and the state. In India, neither in law nor in practice any wall of separation exists. Both state and religion can interact and intervene in each other's affairs. In Western model, the state cannot give any financial support to educational institutions run by religious communities. Indian model has chosen a positive mode of engagement where religious minorities may receive assistance from the state. In Western model, state does not intervene in the affairs of religion till the time religion is working within the limits of the law. In Indian secularism, state can interfere in the religion to remove social evils such as sati or widow burning, dowry, triple talaq, etc. In Western model, religion is relegated entirely to the private sphere, prohibits any public policy to be drafted on the basis of religion. In India, state has a policy of setting up departments of religious endowments and also involved in appointing trustees of these boards. Let us analyze the threats to the secularism. Divisive ideological propaganda, competitive politicization of religious groups, communalism and religious fundamentalism. Manifestos of communalism is communal rights. Mingling of religion and politics in this way. Rise of Hindu nationalism, mob lynching on issues of slaughtering cows and consuming beef, campaigns against love jihad, reconversion or ghar wabs, Islamic fundamentalism or revivalism, incidences of Muslim youth being inspired and radicalized by groups like ISIS. Now, let us look into the way forward. What we expect the state to be under secularism and what the government should do. To nurture the secularism, expand religious freedom, rather strictly practicing state neutrality. Ensure value education. Need to identify a common framework, shared set of values which allows the diverse groups to live together. Conducive environment and social political consensus are prerequisites to implement the social reform. Shared set of values which allows the diverse groups to live together. Conducive environment and social political consensus are prerequisites to implement the social reforms.